What's up? I'm Drew Paul Bell, and in this video, we've gotten a few questions from our friends, from a few different of our friends, asking about what types of laptops I would recommend in architecture school and which ones I used. Okay, so when I first got to school, I think I was using a Toshiba Satellite computer. I don't know the exact model, and I'm not a big computer guy, but it was a Windows computer. And when it got me through like the first 2 years. It got me through using Photoshop and also FormZ, which is a program I've talked a little bit about. It's not all that relevant anymore, but it could kind of handle what I needed it to handle then. But once I got into third year, we were finally allowed to like really use the computer for our drafted drawings and all that kind of thing. And I remember trying to use just AutoCAD, and that computer could not handle it. And I felt like it wasn't even that complex of a drawing, and I was talking with friends. I was like, I knew friends who used AutoCAD, and they were like, no, ours aren't going that slow. So I knew I needed to get a new computer, and I ended up getting a MacBook Pro. And I talked to one of my professors before getting it, and he said, what you need to look for when you're getting a new computer is something with high processing power and high graphics. Because what's really important is that you can handle these renderings. And even if you're just doing like drafted drawings, like on AutoCAD, there's still a heavy amount of graphics it takes to like even take a line and in live action, drag it across the screen and skew it and stretch it around. Like you have to have a certain level of processing power to do that. And he said that that particular professor really liked Apple products, and he recommended those, and I knew somebody that was using them, and I wanted to get into that. I certainly know people who ran it on Windows computers, and they did just fine as well. I think that the computer that I had wasn't a factor about it being Windows or Mac as much as it was probably just the fact that it wasn't a real built-up computer. And the way my professor put it, he was like, people find like these cheap computers and they can write a mean essay, but they can't handle the rendering capabilities that are needed for architecture. So I got a MacBook Pro, and I really enjoyed it. I still use Macs and Apple computers today, even at the office. And there are a few setbacks to this. One being that a lot of computer programs aren't able to run on Apple computers. Like for example, within the architectural world here in the US, Revit is one of the industry leaders in BIM, but you can't run Revit naturally on an Apple computer at the moment. There are ways to get around it. You can install Windows on your Apple computer. You can use Parallels and run like a virtual machine, and that basically allows you to install a Windows operating system within your computer. And so then within that, it's almost like a program that is the other operating system. And then within that, you can then load in the Windows programs. I would recommend you be prepared to do that if you get a computer anyway. If you get a MacBook Pro, if you get like a Mac anyway, because sometimes like I had, for example, a cost estimating class where we had to use a particular cost estimating program that was only available on Windows computers. And so for that class, like I had to be able to run that. Luckily, I had it set up already ahead of time, but that can be another chunk of money, and you should be prepared for if that might come up. Then there are programs that you can learn instead of the ones that aren't available on Mac computers, right? So instead of learning Revit, you can learn Graphisoft's ArchiCAD, and you can find plenty of firms that use that, even though it's not like the number one most popular one. You still find some quality firms. I did, and you'll be one of the only people that know that program. And I've talked more about that in a video that I recorded before about different computer programs, but so honestly, like probably the best situation that you could have in terms of a computer is going to be to build your own CPU. And I was told this by a bunch of people, and I'm sure that's accurate. I personally didn't have any interest in building my own computer. I don't know everything about computers, and I'm not particularly interested in learning all that kind of stuff. It's just not really what I'm interested in. So I wanted to go ahead and just buy one that was already built and just be done with it. I wanted to do that. If you already know how to build a computer, then you're probably not the one asking me what type of computer you should have. You probably already know, and you probably already have like a great opinion and a great sense of what that is already, right? But so So my advice here is really for the people who are like me and don't know a lot about computers and just need to know how to use it and aren't concerned about building their own or know like all the specs and technical documentation about it. So you can pick either one of these, Windows or Mac, it doesn't really matter. I personally like Apple because I think it's well designed, and I'm more excited about going and opening it up and working on that computer. I'm more inspired to work on that than I am a Windows computer where I feel like I'm gonna have to hit Control Alt Delete all the time, and nothing looks that great comparatively. And I know that doesn't mean anything to any PC users, but I really do enjoy it. I know it's silly to say like, oh no, it's just prettier, but like it is, and I don't know, I like that. So anyway, I want to leave you with a quote by Robert Greene, who wrote the 48 Laws of Power. And one of his 48 Laws of Power is that successful people do not make right decisions. They make their decisions right. Ultimately, as long as you're above the threshold of good enough to handle the programs that you need, it doesn't really matter like which one or the other. As long as you can make something happen, then as long as you can make it work, you have to make that decision right. There's no right or wrong answer. It depends on how much work you put into it to making it work. That is going to be the critical factor in whether or not it will work for you. All right, so I hope that this helps. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and I will talk to you next time. Wait, one more thing. If you do know a lot about computers, then don't be afraid to share your information down below. If you have a better sense of like what makes a good computer or what doesn't make a good computer, post that down below. I hesitate to say any kind of like specs because one, I don't know what kind of specs are the best, and two, I think those are going to change at any given time. So even though I could go look it up and share that with you right now, in, I don't know, 6 months, that might not be accurate or relevant anymore. So if you know a lot about computers and you have a good opinion on this, please share it with everybody down below so that it can help out everyone. I hope this helps, and I'll talk to you next time.